So it's right at 7 o'clock and we'll start. I just want to welcome another USBE colleague. So Stephanie Patton. Stephanie, do you want to say hello and what your role is at USBE? Well, maybe.
Sorry. No, sorry that my phone was being weird. So I am the adult education coordinator at the Utah State Board of Education. So been there for about 8 years now.
Thanks, Stephanie. Stephanie and I have worked quite a bit together, especially in relationship to providing support for the transition from K-12 education to adult education for a range of students that, are English learners as well as refugee students. So it's great to have her here. So let me say a couple things. And it's always nice to see you. And remember, this is always recorded and it is uploaded into the interpreter's YouTube USBE playlist. So I'm going to go through a lot of kind of logistical details. And then I'll be open to questions. I just sent you another way to enroll into the USBE Canvas course. Now, the reason this is important is I found out in my 4 o'clock session that people are in districts and they're looking at dashboards in their district Canvas system to try to find this. So it's not in any district Canvas system. It's in the USBE Canvas system. And it's only open to those who have applied and have been accepted to the interpreter's course. So it's not an open course for everybody in Utah. It's only a course for those who have applied. I just sent you again a reminder to enroll. Now, one of the reasons it's really important to enroll early instead of waiting to the last minute, even though it is on demand and you have until, September 30th to complete all the posts and the reflection and the assignments. Now, on July 4th, I'm going to close the course so that will motivate you to register and start the course before July 4th. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have actually read discussion posts that have been submitted in Module 1 and Module 2. In the announcements, I've actually identified really excellent posts that are very thorough and answer all the questions in the prompt. Now, the reason I'm saying this is that responding to the questions in the prompt, there might be 4 questions. So to respond thoroughly is very important. And the reason it's important, I'll give you an example from Module 2 about HB 302. It's important that you really read the bill closely, understand what it's saying and what the implications are for you as a translator, as an interpreter, rather, and to be able to communicate that in your writing, in your post. Okay, so, and I'm going to show you a rubric that I've decided to put to include in the course. And I sent that out in a different link. And I also sent out, besides the enrollment and the Zoom link, an actual revision of the Zoom log. Now, remember, you have all these opportunities to either come to the live Zoom meetings at 4 o'clock or the one at 7 o'clock. And so, it's very flexible. They're always recorded and they're uploaded into the Interpreter Zoom playlist. You must review and review the recorded one if you miss a live session. So far, on this morning or this afternoon at 4 o'clock, there were 27 people who showed up. There are 19 here. There are 115 who are registered. So the question for me always becomes, the use of time to create a space for you to do really deep thinking about what the questions in the prompt are asking you so you can post them in the discussion on the discussion board. I respond to every post in the discussion privately. So it's a private message between me and the candidate or the participant. And the reason I do this and make it private is because I give you feedback on your post. If there are 3 questions and you answer the question like in a simple sentence, like, explain the importance of HB 305, and you do a sentence as a summary, okay, that's not adequate. So what I've done is I've given you the people who have submitted, and remember, it's not by points, it's just I read it, I give you feedback, and it's either complete or incomplete. So I've given everybody a complete with lots of feedback about how you can expand and deepen your responses so that I understand and all your colleagues understand and benefit from the work that you're doing. Another thing is to create a learning community on Canvas is a challenge because it's not really in person. So one of the ways we do this is we read other people's posts, and then in our submission, in our post, we actually respond to a post that we've read that we agree with, that has given us something interesting to think about. We address the person's name and then we respond. So and the reason we do this is we're trying to create a sense of community among all the interpreters who are in the course so that we're learning with and from each other. In a recent post, someone actually attached a very interesting flowchart that their district uses in relationship to, I think, interpretation. So this piece is really important if we're going to have a really in-depth experience of learning so that our interpretation skills can be of high quality. So attending the Zoom sessions or the recordings, and in the log, the new log I gave you is I took out last week's because we didn't meet. Sorry, someone is calling me. And in the new Zoom log, it's a Word document, and it gives you a sample. So an example would be, I attended, and it's by date. So I attended the in-live session or the recorded session. These are some of the things that I learned that helped me understand being an interpreter. Okay, so that's how you keep your attendance. So, we're all adults and I'm not going to keep your attendance. You have to keep your attendance. So that's the other kind of element of being responsible and accountable for your own learning as an adult. The other thing is, remember, this is a level 1 certificate, which means that you attend or review the recorded Zoom sessions, all of them. hand in your Zoom log for attendance at the last class in Canvas, and you complete all the postings with reflection and thought. And the reason this is important is that when you're awarded the certificate, it actually has value. People will know that you attended the courses, you learned from each other, you created a community, and you have some goals set for yourself in relationship to the national standards and the objects in the interpretation standards. Now, the reason this is important is when the certificate is awarded, and this will be in October, there are many, many people, when they applied, said they were interested in level 2 advanced. Now, this might sound like a lot of money, but it's not. It's $350,000 for the contract for an outside vendor for 40 hours of training, of advanced training, so that your advanced certificate can be a qualification for providing training. So it's like a trainer of trainers. Now, because this is limited, it means that you'll reapply for the advanced certificate with a really strong commitment and a very positive experience in the Canvas course. So this is a way to really help you hone your skills as an interpreter. The other thing that's important is, I'll stop for a minute and you can ask any questions, is I'm going to show you the rubric that I developed to help you better understand the expectations related to the writing that you do in your posts. Again, the whole point of the posts is to create a learning environment for all the adults, and in the Zoom meetings to pose any questions that are important to you in relationship to interpretation or anything in the courses that you have, or experiences that you've had as an interpreter and your insights into that, which is really important because in the Zoom meetings that we've had, there have been many issues brought up about IEP meetings, which I then have the benefit of working closely with the special ed department. Someone else also asked the question about FERPA and student privacy. So in the Canvas course, there are announcements, and in the announcements, there are all kinds of important documents that you can have access to. One is the vocabulary of IEPs and the post in the parent portal where you can do the translation into multiple languages. The other one is a link to FERPA to better understand issues of privacy, student privacy, family privacy, because those issues relate directly to the kind of work you do as an interpreter. Okay, so I'm going to stop now, and if you see at the bottom of your Zoom screen where it says reactions, you can actually raise your hand instead of putting the question in the chat, because then I get kind of distracted by trying to read the chat. If you could do that, that would be great. You just raise your hand, and then you would introduce yourself and what district you're in, or what family program, or whatever it happens to be. And then you can ask me any questions related to the update and the kind of technical assistance related to the Canvas courses, the Zoom, and after you ask those questions, any kind of clarifying questions, then I'll share my screen and we can look at the rubric that will help you better understand the expectation for the kinds of posts that would really help you deepen your skills and your understanding of the content and what you see in the videos in relationship to good practice. So I'll stop for a minute and hope that you have questions. You can just raise your hand. Alejandro.
Yes, okay. Good evening, Cristel. Good evening for everybody. Okay, yes, my name is Alejandro Martinez. I don't belong to any district. I'm not a teacher at any district. But I have been a teacher in my home country. I lived in Utah for about 3 years, and I have been always interested in this interpreter field, and now interpreting in educational settings. So my questions or the questions I have are concerning the level 2 advanced certificate. Um, it, it, is this course going to be in person, hybrid, or when does it start?
Well, so the advanced certificate, again, you'll have to apply after you receive the first level 1 certificate. You'd have to reapply
Yeah.
because we have, kind of limited resources. But the contract that we worked on this week for a vendor who provides 40 hours of training, it's all virtual and online. So there's nothing in person. You won't have to travel or anything like that. And so we actually, in the contract, we actually made sure that it would be available and the opportunities would be, really positive for everybody. So I love your question, really wonderful question. My mother's maiden name is Martinez, so we might be related. So thank you, Alejandro. I really appreciate it. And the other thing is, the reason we made this so open so that community members and a range of people could be benefit from the interpreter training is that we value community participation. So if you're translating, if you were actually employed by a district or a school or whatever, is fine. There are people who are in literacy centers. There are people who are in adult education. There are people who have always thought about being interpreters and have done work in their own community. And because we want Utah to be a welcoming environment for all communities and all language experiences, that's why this class is this whole level 1 training is so open. So thank you again, Alejandro, for your question. Other questions? Angela.
Yes, thank you so much. I work for the Washington County School District. And my question is just to clarify on the attendance. We have the sheet, I saw that. And how do we put on their attendance? Do we need to keep track on there, or we keep a track on, do we just print that paper and then we keep track on it and then submit it, or?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is to download it, right? And well, actually, you can actually fill it out because it's a Word document. So you would
Okay.
actually download it on your computer, and then every time you attend or you review a Zoom, you would, at the top, it says, I attended so-and-so, and this is what I learned, right? So you would write in every single section of every meeting that you attended or that you reviewed online on the YouTube video. And then at the very end of the Canvas course, which is discussion post unit 10, you would then just from your computer, you would upload your Word document, right? Because that's what you would do for attendance, because you're actually attesting that you were either here live or that you watched the recorded video and what you learned when you were either here or when you were listening to the recorded version. So I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome, Angela. And I'm so happy that there there are actually quite a few people from Washington County, you know, which I love because the whole idea is, you know, and people I've had to, um, you know, people wanted to join, even though the ending date for applications was January 15th.
Mhm.
And so I've actually said to people, you know, next December, uh, the new cohort will start with new applications, because by then the 2024 cohort, which is you all will be finished and you will have level 1 certification. And then in December, so that'll be, you know, by October 15th, after I do all the corrections, and then we award certificates and stuff like that. You know, which will be a big celebration in your local communities. But in December, by December 1st, or maybe even mid-November, the new applications will go out. So this will be an opportunity for you to recruit your colleagues into the next cohort of 2025, right? So you're going to be kind of the ambassadors for the program and support, because the whole goal is based on HB 305 is every district and charter has to have a language access policy. And as a consequence, that means that interpretation has to be in the foremost of what Utah does to support students learning English and their families. Karina, do you want to speak?
Hi, yes. Hello everyone. My name is Karina. I work for the Cache County School District. I'm the parent liaison of the district and migrant recruiter and ELL specialist. So I just wanted to make a little comment. Ever since I started with this course, I feel like I've been more successful with my translations. The videos have helped me a lot, especially where today I had an IEP and the parents and the psychologist and everyone, they were not looking at me. They were actually looking at the parent, and the parent was looking at the people who was talking, and that I didn't feel like I was part of the conversation. Like it was recommended, I was just translating and getting the message through. And that actually made me very happy. I feel like it's been helping a lot. And also, since I get to talk to a lot of parents, I think some of my parents are very shy. They don't communicate. They are ashamed of not speaking English. So I've been doing a little job and texting them or letting them know that it's their right to access information, and don't be afraid to ask, because the school will always find a way to respond in any language. I have parents that speak like right now I just help a parent register in Marshallese, and it's my job to look for a translator, not the parent's job. And I have families from Afghanistan, from Syria, and it's my job to look for a way to communicate with them. And I feel like this has lift a very heavy weight off their shoulders, and communication is way better. So I am very happy with all of this, and thank you so much for your help.
Well, you're welcome. You know, we love to hear these stories about experiences where learning really has an impact on your actual practice of being an interpreter. You know, and so this is an incredible value that supports families that, again, they actually have a right to have the language of their family and their preferred language interpreted and translated so that they can be a part of the education of their child. You know, speaking another language is a huge benefit. It's an asset. That's why the dual language immersion program has been successful in Utah. The challenge is that oftentimes, for whatever reason, school districts don't really enlist and register students whose first language is Spanish or French, into the dual immersion programs, which actually shows that there's a disconnect between people understanding that in your first language, if you're actually literate, it's much easier to learn, you know, 1 language, 2 language, 3 languages. I work with a student for the last 4 years at a high school here, and I did independent study with him and worked with him, and he came in designated as a level 1 or level 2, even though he knows 4 languages. He's from South India. Because he was more educated in relationship to the actual support, and his parents were supportive and I was supportive. He's now a senior, has had access to higher courses. When a sophomore, when he was tested, he ended up, you know, testing out of WIDA with all 6s, and he was just accepted into the Honors College at the University of Utah. And his major is computer science and then physics, astronomical physics. So these are examples of the way in which language support will help to change sometimes the practices in schools that do not provide the kind of access that students need. And your point about, you know, families being embarrassed about not speaking English, their advantage is they actually speak another language and they're learning English and how to advocate for their own children. And remember, this is, you know, this has been a civil right since the 1960s, the Educational Opportunity Act from 1974, and now state law from 2022. So, you know, this is a great opportunity for us. Other comments or questions before I show you the rubric? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and you tell me if you can see it. Can you see my screen? I need someone to say if they see it.
Yes, it
Oh,
is
yes.
visible.
Okay, great. Okay, so if you look at this, let me see. So I sent you a link because previously I put it in one of the announcements. And in the announcements, when you register and you start, it's really important to read the announcements because they'll give you from students, from our colleagues, you know, really well-written responses in the discussion post. And everybody does it in a different way, which is really good. And for me, it's so exciting to read and become familiar with your experiences and see how deeply your understanding is connecting to your experience of being an interpreter. So for discussion posts, if you see, the criteria is the application, which is, you know, the whole point of the course. The writer explains what he or she is learning that directly applies to developing the skills of an interpreter. So when there is a question and there's, you know, a question, several questions in a prompt, then remember, it's all about you better understanding how you develop the skills of an interpreter and what that means for the children of Utah. You get, even though it's 1 mark, it's not tallied up as a point. It's actually tallied up as just completed. So full credit is the writer explains in detail the answer to each question in the prompt and does not summarize in 1 or 2 sentences. Now, summarizing has its place, but not in this context, because it's important to communicate, you know, the details by which you understand what it means to be an interpreter related to whether it's IEPs, whether it's FERPA that you're reading, whether I'm asking you about a video that you're watching, or whether you're reading legislation. You know, it's really important to explain and use details so that you communicate your understanding of what's being asked in the prompt. And again, the prompt might have 2 or 3 different questions. So a complete response. This includes reading other posts and thoughtfully responding to a colleague, preferably 2 others by first name. And the reason we do this, again, it's about creating a learning community and getting to know each other. So we're creating this like amazing Utah network of interpreters. You know, who are creating this positive, welcoming environment for, you know, all the languages that we have in the entire state, which is, you know, more than 150. And in some classrooms, you know, it might be 5 or 6, even more than that. So this is the rubric, and this will help guide you in checking the way you're responding to the questions and the way your posts are actually helping create a learning community by responding to others. And the reason, you know, we use first name is really important because you're reading other people's posts and you're getting to know them, like where they are in Utah and, you know, what their experience is. And so creating this network of interpreters is really a valuable opportunity for all of us. Now I'm going to stop sharing, and you have access to this. I just emailed it to everybody. And I'm going to work with the Canvas help people so that it will always show up in the discussion posts. And I want to apologize for not having given you this previously. There was just one line, very briefly, about quality and clarity of writing. But I think this is much clearer and supports you in being successful in the entire course. What questions do you have about that? Any questions? And if not, any comments? Alejandro,
Yes, I would like to know, besides Spanish, what the most spoken, what the most 3 spoken languages among the students, their parents and their families. I mean, the languages that
Mhm.
the districts need translators or interpreters for.
Yeah, so I'll give you some examples based on the current refugee situation. Previously, we've had families from a lot of African families from the Congo, from the Sudan, from Somali, Vietnamese. We're having a lot of Venezuelans now coming, as well as Afghan and Pakistan. So we have, and I think someone, I think someone's here, I think it's Omar, who actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, speaks Urdu, Pashto, so all the language of the Middle East. So these are, as I said, about 150 languages. Also, just so you know, San Juan really focuses on maintaining heritage language of Navajo, which we want to maintain, obviously, especially because the elders speak Navajo. I spent time at the high school in San Juan and attended a Navajo class. And it's a wonderful, wonderful experience to maintain, you know, indigenous languages. Another example is Tooele School District, and with support from some Title III funds for exemplary practices, they're maintaining the tribal language of Goshute, which is a kind of an offshoot of Shoshone, which is amazing. And recently for Washington County, I met with my colleagues at Washington County and Iron County, and we worked with tribal leaders. And so there's another amazing project for maintaining Southern Paiute dialect, among other African dialects, which is, you know, pretty interesting. So I hope that helps for you to understand the huge advantage we have with all these languages. A lot of the research shows that in the 21st and 22nd century, putting people on collaborative teams that speak different languages actually helps companies be more innovative. Because having kind of monolingual people with the same background doesn't really create the kind of diverse opportunities for envisioning something for the future. Karina.
No, I just wanted to thank you for the rubric. I might have been one of the people who was very brief on their comments. And just that. So I will check I will check my responses.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a problem. Because I hadn't given this ahead of time, you know, I gave everybody complete, and I actually ended up, giving feedback and personal notes and all. I do that with everyone. And so you don't have to worry, just think about, and I always say stuff like, I'm looking forward to your future posts because I know that the quality of your work will be excellent, right? So don't worry about that. Other questions or comments or experiences?
Hi, Christelle, this is Omar. So I speak Arabic, but I don't speak Urdu. It's just a comment.
Great. Thank you, Omar.
Thank you.
Maybe it's Amal. It's someone who speaks like four different languages, which for me is, that is like really exciting, especially because, we have, Afghan refugees that were, that were trying to escape the Taliban at the airport and, all of that kind of stuff, all that traumatizing experience. And we have lots of Ukrainian families as well, whose experience of the war, is last summer. I spent time, it was last summer, the summer before last. Canyons has a wonderful summer program that is just fabulous. And so, I met students from the Congo and at their elementary school, and two girls, twins actually, from the Ukraine. And, they were very clear that they were happy to be here. They're here with their mother, and their brother and their father stayed in the Ukraine to fight. And so those kinds of stories I have the privilege of experiencing, which makes me so committed to the work that we're doing here, that you're going to do. So Lizzie.
Hi, Lizzie Armenta, Garfield County School District. Sorry about my hair, it was wacky Wednesday today at school. But I was just gonna say that what I was realizing and thinking about with this course is that we just kind of get out of it what we put into it. It's very discussion based. And I was just thinking about how cool it is, like the evolution of the posts so far, of seeing how everyone's been able to apply what we've learned into our interpretation, sorry. And I was just, since starting this course, I've done parent-teacher conferences, IEPs, just regular interpretations in the office, and I just continuously catch myself thinking about, am I doing this to the top degree of fidelity? Am I interpreting this in the way that I should? Am I doing this in first person? Just all of the objectives are running through my mind. And I think it's really cool to be more consciously aware of it.
Your mic is off. This is Estrada.
Oh, thanks. I was just thanking Lizzie for saying what she's said, and also for, saying a little bit about, Crazy Hair Day, because that's what schools do. They have like Pajama Day, Spirit Week, Red Week, or whatever, and that ends up creating a really welcoming, fun environment, not just at the secondary level, but elementary as well. So other questions, we have 20 minutes. So, and you can share experiences or anything related to the posts that you've read, and make sure that you register for the Canvas course, even because the whole point really is, it's at your own pace. But it's important that you get familiar with it and feel comfortable, because, you don't want to wait until July 4th and think that you can, register and then complete something without this way of keeping quiet time and an opportunity for you to think deeply about how you're going to respond to not just the prompts, but also the videos and also the other people in the course. That's where you really create, relationship. Learning is all about relationships. It's not about and how much you put into how you're going to develop your skills as an interpreter and what goals you set for yourself. Karina.
Okay, me again. So today I was just thinking about how sometimes it's hard to, well, I felt like I need to also work on my emotions as well, to be the best I could. Some part of my job is to help with suicide assessments, and sometimes I just can't help it and cry. And I know that it's so unprofessional. And this morning I was just thinking, because we had an assessment today, and it's like, no, okay, control your emotions, and everyone's crying or everyone is so emotional, but I'm there to translate. So that's today I was just thinking about that it's also part of being a translator to control your emotions and be as professional as you can and just do your best.
Yeah, I think that's a really important element of the standards about, fidelity to what is being said. And so, taking deep breaths, you can't help but be moved by some of the things that happen, some of the things that I hear. I mean, today's this wonderful woman who has gathered a group together, and they're supporting students. And she called me and said that someone in their community they've just come from Venezuela. They're two girls, and they tried to get them registered, but the school didn't, I'm not going to say which district, obviously, because it doesn't really matter. The school was confused. They didn't know really what to do when she called to try to help. She doesn't speak Spanish, but from Venezuela they do. And so then she was referred to the district at McKinney-Vento, but she didn't think that was right, because she thought that was about homeless, and they aren't homeless. And so, I said, very simply, that to protect the privacy of the students, just email me exactly the situation, very simply. And, I'll send it to the person at the district who is over that. And within 5 minutes, the person responded at the district and had contacted a family liaison, which was going to meet with the family. And, that took about 5 minutes. And the reason I'm saying this is that for me, things like it's always very emotional. The things people call me directly. They're upset, they're confused, they don't know who to talk to. And it's an opportunity to be very clear about the outcome that you want. So the outcome here was, yes, we want the two girls to be registered right away. So I think, Karina, that's what helps me, is to really think about the ultimate goal and your role in making that happen. And thank you for, sharing that with us, because I know that ends up being sensitive. Thank you. Other questions? And we have 15 more minutes, but we don't have to go until 8. We can, of course, if you have more questions or comments. Stephanie, do you have anything to say to the group?
No, but it's been great to hear your experiences and how the course has helped you so far. And it's a really important service that's being provided for students all over.
Thanks so much, Stephanie.
And I have to say, I apologize for not having my video on tonight. I'll have it on next time. I'm not feeling super great. So anyway, you don't want to see me tonight. So
Well, you kind of sound sick. I hope you're taking care of yourself.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we still haven't had a chance to have our luncheon date. So, but both of us, people at USBE, they have like 2 or 3 different responsibilities, just like most of you in the district or most of you in communities, that have families and children and, are working and trying to do this as well. So we really appreciate you being here and your effort and your commitment. And remember, you can always communicate with me through Canvas. On the left-hand side, it says email, and you can always email me. That's always the best place to ask questions or whatever. And after every Zoom session, when things come up and questions come up, I always try to respond pretty quickly. So most of you have probably gotten, I think, at least 2 emails from me. One that has a link to the rubric, and then to the Zoom meetings, and then the new Zoom log, and then how to enroll. And really, the best thing about the Canvas course is, you're having this experience of reading all these amazing, experiences and interpretation and people's comments about what they're learning. And, it's just a wonderful community. So, please register, enroll. You have to enroll. And it'll give you exactly how you do it, the link that you go to it. And if you're not on a USBE account, it'll send you to that. And we have a Canvas help person. I put their email in there as well. So if it's a Canvas issue, she's really wonderful. You can, her name is Debbie. You can actually email her as well. So if there isn't anything else, I'll wait a minute before I stop the recording. Alejandro.
Yes, I would like to know, if you're aware of what other states are doing with regard to this necessity of providing proper communication among the members of the communities. For example, the surrounding states, what are they doing in Colorado or Nevada or Idaho? Are they doing the same? Are they doing better? What are they doing in order to try to cope with this need for translators, interpreters, or people who can work as mediators in order to communicate with the whole community?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Utah is probably the only state around that has an actual state law that is as comprehensive as HB 302 is. And we have Dan Johnson, who is the House person, the IRC, who worked on it with me and Dan, and Senator Thurmond, to create this. The only other state that I know that has anything really systematically is this, I think it's the state of Minnesota. The local states don't have state law as comprehensive as Utah does. So that's one thing that we should really be proud of, and we should, really value what it is Utah is trying to do in relationship to engaging parents in the educational opportunities of their children. So thank you so much for all of your questions, and I'll see you next week. And again, look at your emails closely for everything that I've sent you, and register as soon as you can. And, take your time with the course. Really study the videos and do a good job on posting and reading other people's posts and creating a very authentic learning community. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.